Hello, I'm Edward Tarte, once a Catholic priest for 5 years in the 1960s, now an atheist, which means I find no credible evidence for the existence of any God. This is the 19th in my series of weekly religion videos for friendlyatheist.com. This is a follow-up to last week's video in which I discussed the daily prayer regimen at St. Mary's Seminary when I was there from 1957 to 1963, preparing to be a Catholic priest. If you have not watched last week's video, I invite you to do so. We had morning prayers and Mass in the chapel, 6 o'clock to 7:15, prayers before breakfast, prayers to begin and end each class morning and afternoon, prayers before lunch in the chapel and the dining hall, silent prayer in the chapel after lunch, prayers before supper, 5:30 to 6 o'clock, silent prayer in the chapel after supper. Evening prayers in the chapel, 7:40 to 7:55. Did I ever find any evidence that any supernatural being ever heard any prayer of the hundreds of thousands of man-hours of prayer of any of us seminarians or priests during the 6 school years that I was there? No, I did not find any evidence whatsoever. But that did not bother me in the least. I was not looking for evidence. I was not aware of the desirability of having evidence. Why? I had faith, that's why. Now I am going to describe one very unusual event that occurred one day during our evening prayers in the chapel. Part of the daily evening routine was that the seminarian reader of the week read a paragraph outlining the recommended topic for our next morning's meditation. One evening, the reader of that week, a classmate and good friend of mine, said over the microphone, quote, "Tomorrow's meditation is hell." And the laughter started, if you could call it laughter, especially among the younger seminarians. I managed to keep my composure in that sacred place, but several of the others lost their cool, got up and left the chapel, and once outside burst out laughing. This was an unheard of event. I don't know whether my friend the reader, who often had a twinkle in his eye, had planned this. I am almost certain that our priest supervisor, who looked down upon us from the choir loft, had a serious talk with my friend that evening after prayers. So the next morning, my friend reread that paragraph about the morning's meditation, but he reworded the opening sentence, "This morning's meditation is about eternal punishment." By the way, my friend, that mischievous reader, a few years after his ordination to the priesthood, did as I did. He left the priesthood, as did many of my other fellow seminarians. In partnership with 2 other ex-priest friends of mine, he became a very successful professional counselor. He also became a devoted husband and father. No longer Father Scardino, but a real father. We were taught by our priest teachers at the seminary that if any of us ever left the Catholic Church, we would go to hell, and that my commitment to be a priest was a permanent commitment, a solemn promise to God that I would remain a faithful priest for the rest of my life. So, according to that, I am headed for an event where kind, gentle, loving Jesus will set my body on fire, and I will writhe in unspeakable agony forever. My plan for next week's video is to conclude my discussion of the seminary's grip on me through prayer, including, beginning in my last year at the seminary, the threat of hell if I did not pray as required. Meanwhile, to all of you, thank you for watching this video.